Well, hello, and welcome back to Black Hammer Artisan. Here on the channel, we like to try and reproduce the methods of old medieval craftsmen by limiting ourselves to their tools and trying to recreate the products that they were making. One of the products that they used to make was something called the draw knife. If you've ever done woodworking, you know what I'm talking about. It's extremely useful for all sorts of woodworking. That's what we're going to be making today. Alright, so if you don't know what a draw knife is, I'm going to try and draw the draw knife. Haha, dad joke. Anyway, if you can imagine something like, I'm not a great artist, something like this. Basically, you have some handles here, a little bit bigger than that, probably about knife handle sized. And you have a blade in the middle here. You take these handles. If you can imagine that this edge here is sharp, you take that and you draw it, hence the name draw knife, down a piece of wood, and you pick off shavings, and it's very effective and works very nicely. So just before, we're just about to get into it, but before we do, I have one question for you, and you need to answer this down in the comment section. What is it with birds pooping on large metal objects? I had 3 on my anvil this morning, at least 2 right here, another one over there. So, you can answer what you think about that. Also, I'd like to apologize for the state of my tools. This is what happens when you don't have a roof over your equipment. I literally just don't have one right now, but if you're a blacksmith that's trying to start out and get your, take care of your blacksmithing setup, try and do a better job than this, try and get a roof over it like I'm going to soon. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing right now is I'm setting in some shoulders, some set downs. Where the handles are going to be. Okay, so that's the first seat and we're looking pretty good. Probably could have got that a little bit hotter, but oh well. I think this one here is long enough. I'm actually debating about how to do this. I've done this 2 different ways in the past. One way is just to leave it how it is, stick it through the handle, and then pound that down, try and rivet it over. Another way was to take it like this, do a set down where it becomes very thin on the end, and then bend it over, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards right now. This is of course colder than I should be doing this. There you go. Okay, I'm going to try and put kind of an experimental bend in this. I may need to get a little more heat for it because this is not very hot. Yeah, I'm gonna get a little more heat. Didn't get very much heat there. Just, I think, enough. I'm kind of thinking probably about that angle, roughly. I'm fairly liking this angle here. I think it'll give me more downwards pull on it instead of just being a straight handle. So it's kind of, yeah, looking good. So I'm gonna go do the other side now. Okay, going in for the first set down on this side. And I think that's the right mark. Hopefully it is. One thing that I did not do but probably should have, and my tongs, okay. I'm gonna have to grab another pair of tongs. One thing that I did not do but probably should have done is put center punch marks on this. That would have been a good idea, but I didn't think about it. And that's part of the reason why I pretty much just lost this first heat. But that'll be okay, I'll just heat it up again. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to trim this because I think it's winding up longer than the other one, which is okay. All right, it's a little bit hotter than it looks, most likely to you, but this is still pretty colder than you probably should be doing that. There's a reason why the edge of my hardy cutoff here is kind of blunt. Not sure if I got quite enough heat here, but I'm gonna try anyway. So I got the handles roughly made. Next thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to bevel this. When I do, I'm obviously going to be stretching this material out, which means it's going to take up more space, which means it's going to bend backwards. It's going to be longer on this side, shorter on this side. So it's going to bend backwards like that. So I've got this hammer here, and my idea is I hopefully will be able to hit it on the edge and kind of straighten it out. We'll see how that works out. And I'm just doing this by eye. I'm just kind of drawing it back to where I think it looks good. This is going to be a one-sided bevel, only on this side. I'm trying to get a fairly consistent line here. So first off, if this doesn't remind you of some French guy's mustache, something's wrong with you. But secondly, next heat, I'm gonna try and put it here and strike along the edge to just try and straighten this thing out, and hopefully it works. Okay, I didn't get as even of a heat as I wanted, so hopefully that doesn't cause me any issues. I'm also just trying to take any of the deep hammer marks out at the same time as I'm getting the rest of this all figured. Just kind of generally making it look how I want it to. There's a little nick right there. I want to not be there. Is this the right way? Yeah. And here's where it'd be really nice if I had a filing vise, which I should probably make one. Because I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna hold this. I'm not going to take this all the way down to a final edge before I heat treat it, but I want to get it kind of close. Okay, so here's what it's looking like right now. Yeah, I got this all filed out. I didn't forge it quite as close as I probably should have. Should have probably taken a little more time and just forged it a little bit closer to dimension, because I wound up having to do more filing than I wanted to. But yeah, I think it's going to turn out pretty good, so I'm going to heat treat it next. So obviously I'm sawing this piece of wood in half to become 2 handles. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to auger a hole through this, and then it's going to be a little bit smaller than the handle tangs are, and I'm going to burn those in so they're just the right size. I'm going to do my best to try and get this done on one heat here. Well, didn't work on the first heat, so try and remember that orientation. Next heat. Must just be a really hard wood or something. I don't even know what it is. I just didn't heat up the tip quite enough before. Obviously a very smoky process. Oof. Obviously those handles will need properly shaped. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. It's actually kind of a pretty nice angle. Okay, that was not perfect. Hopefully it turns out okay. And hopefully it doesn't crack. I didn't hear anything, so that's good. And I was thinking to do a draw temper, but now I'm not thinking to do a draw temper. Because I obviously didn't there. It did crack. Good night. Okay, so, boys, let me tell you something, a little fact about life. Don't quench in water. So what just happened, I quenched in water. I also quenched it all the way down. Something that I was always told was to not do that. If you do quench in water, which is generally a bad idea, don't quench it all the way to cold, and this is why. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a real bad crack here, and there's a really bad one here. It goes from here all the way to here. So, obviously, I'll make another one, and I'll just see you back when I get it to this point. But, you know, I think it's good. I'm showing you this just so you can learn from my mistake. Don't do this. Probably don't quench in water at all. It's just a bad idea. And if you do, don't quench it all the way down to cold, because, as is very evident, that cracked it. This is also a pretty high carbon steel, so it's even more risky with this. But the real question is, can I break this thing? Let's try. All right, I'm doing this for you guys. So before I do this, run down to the comment section and tell me what your prediction is. I'll give you about 5 seconds to do that. Might want to pause the video. Break or no break? All right, my prediction is this will probably shatter up a little more. The back will probably bend because it's not hardened. Let's see what happens. I was wrong. There you go. All right, I'm not gonna lie, that was way easier than I thought it was gonna be. That just like popped apart. See how clean that, now take a look, just take note. I mean, I don't really know what I'm talking about here because I'm not a scientist, but just take note of this grain structure here. If you can see that, it's actually really interesting. It's kind of big. Also, I just realized, going back a little bit, I did not normalize this, so 2 giant mistakes. First off, always normalize. I don't know how I forgot that. But secondly, hardening in water, not a good idea. And thirdly, hardening it or quenching it all the way down to where it's completely cold, no heat left, really bad idea. You can see bigger grain structure, smaller grain structure. This was not quenched off as aggressively. This was. Also, this may have just happened when I did that, or it may have already been there and I didn't notice it. There's actually a 3rd crack right there. Honestly, it doesn't bother me that much. It didn't take a crazy amount of time to make, and the steel didn't cost me anything because it's just a piece of scrap. I'm actually fairly intrigued on just looking at this grain structure, the way it looks and everything, and I'll see you in just a second with another one. Okay, so this is the new DRAWKNIFE. Also, sorry about this video coming out late. Obviously, we're behind schedule because of having to make another one. So yeah, last time what I failed to do, I forgot to normalize it, and that probably contributed to the problem. So I'm definitely, gonna remember, because you always should remember to normalize it. And then I'm going to quench it in tallow, sheep tallow. I've never done this before. I have talked to people who have, but I've never done it, so hopefully it all works out. The bird strikes again. hopefully that worked okay. Second here, I'm gonna try and watch the temper. It was a little hard for me to tell if I got a successful draw temper there. I thought I did, I think I did, but about to test it with the file. The file cuts it, we're doing okay. If the file doesn't cut it, then we need to temper it more. Okay, file is cutting it. So I think we're doing okay. Okay, I'm gonna sharpen this thing up a little bit and I'll be back in a minute. Okay, feel the burr. So this is pretty much pretty well done. I just got to put the handles on it, so that's going to be the next step. I've got the scale cleaned off this, and I've got this relatively sharpened. It probably could stand to be sharper, but relatively sharpened. So I'm going to stick the handles on next. And you already saw me burn these on the last one. So yeah, on this one, what I've done here is set a shoulder in here, so I should just be able to fold this backwards over this. So that'll be the next shot here. So what I'm thinking to do, if I can find my round file around here somewhere, I'm thinking to cut into here a little, make it a little bit thinner so I can bend this over a little easier because it's giving me a bit of resistance. Will it bend or will it break? It will break. Okay, so basically what's going on is I busted this tab off and this tab. I was a design failure. It didn't really work that I was theoretically going to be able to bend over. When I tried to bend it over, I busted both of them. And I don't know if maybe if I had annealed these, maybe they would have been soft enough, but this is a pretty high carbon steel. So I don't even know if that would have been enough. So yeah, this is kind of what we're left with. I don't think I can necessarily fix this. Maybe in the future, if I was going to do it again, I'd do like a riveted handle or maybe a pinned handle. I'm not 100% sure. If you'd like me to try it again though, you could say something in the comments. But yeah, what we do here is experimental archaeology. It's an experiment. It doesn't always work out. But, you know, I'm a 17-year-old kid trying to recreate 1700-year-old designs. So yeah, I think it should still be usable. I'm going to try it in just a second here. And I might be able to wrap the handles up in leather, and it might still be usable that way. I would try it again for the third time. But I just don't have time for the sake of this video. We got to move on. As you can see, there's no real way to keep this handle on. It's just, yeah. So it can be kind of tempting to delete a video like this, but it was experimental to begin with. And hopefully you can learn something from this handle design flaw. I think it'll still probably be functional, but we're about to test it out. So yeah, as you can see, I think it's working pretty good. Of course, I'll probably sharpen it up and give it a better edge, but you can see it's working. Actually, I've wanted a draw knife. It's funny because with all the time I've been making stuff, I have never had my own draw knife. I used my brother's for quite a while. But for bow making, that sort of thing, it's super handy, as well as just pretty much any sort of woodworking. It's a great tool. I wish the handles had turned out. I may try it again at some point, but for now I do think, I mean, it does work, as you can see. I do think that until I make another one, this is probably a tool that I'll be using. So you'll get to see it, I'm sure, in upcoming videos. I just realized I was too focused on the camera. I was using this backwards. Funny thing is, it actually worked okay backwards. Works better this way though. That's really funny. I've never used a draw knife backwards before. Yeah, it does work better when you use it the right way. But you can see that even without handles, while it may not be as comfortable to hold, it still gets the job done. It's actually working pretty good. And that's not even being sharpened properly. I mean, I brought it down to a decent edge with a file, but it's not properly been sharpened yet. Okay, so above everything else, above this thing working, above me having a good time, I really hope you learned something in this video, because that's kind of what it's all about. I hope you'll stick around for the other videos, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of them you can watch on the channel now. You know, a lot of experiments like this is also stuff that I am a lot more familiar with and more professional at making. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I mean, if you could even just like drop a one-word comment down, it helps the algorithm. I'd appreciate it. If you give us a thumbs up, speaking of that, I'd also appreciate it. And if you subscribe, you're a king. Until next time, farewell wherever you fare.